You remember the 8-track, but the reason it took over is stranger than you think. It was never the best sounding format, never the neatest, and definitely never the most durable. For a brief moment, though, it solved a problem nobody said out loud. People wanted their music to keep going, while their lives sped up. The clue is not the living room, it is the car. The 8-track becomes powerful because it fits a world of highways, suburb commutes, drive-ins, and long American distances. You slide in one chunky cartridge, hear that mechanical clunk, and suddenly the soundtrack no longer belongs to the house. That little plastic brick looks crude now, but the idea inside it is sly. Unlike a cassette, the tape forms an endless loop. No flipping sides, no rewinding, no pause to turn things over at 70 miles an hour. The machine promises continuity, and continuity feels like freedom. Its family tree is weirder than most people realize. The format grows out of broadcast tape cartridges used in radio stations, where endless loops are practical. Then entrepreneurs and manufacturers shrink that logic into something the public can own. A professional utility mutates into a consumer dream. One of the key names is Bill Lear, the aviation inventor behind the Learjet. He sees the cartridge system, senses that car audio is still primitive, and pushes a refined version toward automakers. That aviation instinct matters. This is technology imagined for motion, not contemplation. Then comes the move that changes everything. Ford starts offering 8-track players in cars in the mid-1960s, and suddenly the format is not asking permission from the home hi-fi world. It bypasses the living room gatekeepers and goes straight into dashboards, where convenience beats purity every time. That is the first secret. The 8-track wins because it attaches itself to a habit before anyone can argue about sound quality. Once your car is wired for it, you buy the tapes. Once stores stock the tapes, artists release albums on them. Momentum begins posing as destiny. And there is another clue hiding in plain sight. The cartridge feels substantial, big enough to hold, easy to shove into a slot.
Hard to mishandle compared with a spindly reel or a delicate record. It feels like industrial equipment for ordinary people, almost military in its confidence. For a while, that confidence is contagious. The 8-track becomes a gift item, a road trip companion, a status symbol in dens and vans and custom cars. Home units appear, portable units appear, combo furniture appears. The format starts looking less like a compromise and more like the future.
But the future has a tell. Listen closely to an album on 8-track and you hear the machine giving itself away. Songs are divided into 4 programs, and those programs have to fit the loop. So albums get rearranged, faded out, or sliced mid-song with a loud click. That click is the second secret. It reveals the format's central weakness. The 8-track does not serve the album serves the cartridge. Music gets bent around the machine's geometry, and once you notice that, the spell starts thinning. Inside the cartridge, the design is clever and flimsy at the same time. Tape is pulled from the center of a single reel and fed back around the outside. A pressure pad presses the tape against the head. Lubrication, tension, and alignment all need to behave. They do not. This is where memory gets honest. People remember the sound, yes, but they also remember failure. The tape jams, the splice breaks, the foam pressure pad turns to dust. Your favorite album warbles, drags, or gets eaten in the player, and suddenly the future looks embarrassingly mortal. The 8-track also suffers from a problem that is almost psychological. It asks you to accept interruption without control. You cannot easily rewind to hear a song again. You often cannot precisely choose a track. The machine decides the flow, and at first that feels modern. Then it starts feeling bossy. Meanwhile, over on the smaller shelf, the compact cassette is changing. It begins life as a voice recording format, a flimsy little thing not taken seriously by hi-fi purists. But improvement is relentless. Better tape formulations, Dolby noise reduction, stronger shells, better transports. Quietly, the underdog grows teeth. The cassette's revenge is not elegance alone. It gives you agency. You can record your own mix, tape the radio, make a message, duplicate a friend's album, carry more music in less space. The 8-track is a vending machine. The cassette becomes a notebook. That difference matters more than nostalgia usually admits. People do not just want playback, they want participation. Once home taping becomes ordinary, the cassette fits real life better than the sealed, prepackaged 8-track cartridge ever can. It enters bedrooms, backtacks, glove compartments, and shoeboxes with almost no friction. Then the hardware shifts. Car stereos improve, home decks improve, portable recorders get cheaper. The cassette no longer sounds like a tinny compromise, and by the late 1970s, it is becoming the format that does everything reasonably well. Good enough, flexible enough, cheap enough. That combination is deadly. There is also simple economics. An 8-track cartridge uses more plastic, more bulk, and a mechanically fussier package. It takes up more retail space and more space in the car. A cassette is smaller, easier to rack, easier to ship, easier to slip into your pocket. Convenience changes sides. And then there is the indignity nobody advertises. 8-track players require trust. You push the cartridge in and hope the internal mechanics cooperate. A worn pinch roller, a dirty head, a tired spring.
Any tiny failure turns the listening experience into a negotiation.
Cassettes are not perfect, but they feel less mysterious. By the time the Walkman arrives in 1979, the contest is effectively over. This is the third secret, and maybe the real killer. The 8-track is built for shared motion. Car cabins, rec rooms, open road listening. The cassette suddenly becomes private motion. Music shrinks to the size of your own head.
That shift is cultural as much as technical. The 1970s 8-track belongs to outward life. Cruising, hosting, driving, choosing an album for everyone inside the vehicle. The cassette and then the Walkman belong to inward life. You do not just play music anymore. You curate your own sealed atmosphere. So what killed the 8-track? Not one assassin. It is death by exposure. The format wins by hiding its compromises inside a thrilling use case.
Then loses when people gain a better option that reveals every compromise at once. The moment choice becomes portable, the clunky endless loop starts looking absurd. Still, there is one surprising fact that makes the whole story click. The 8-track lingers not because it is great, but because installed machines keep demand alive. Cars already on the road act like little life support systems, extending the format long after its future is gone. And that is the unsettling part. The 8-track dies the way a lot of technologies die. Not when they stop working, but when the world around them stops making sense. For a few years, it sounds like progress. Then one day, that loud program change clunk no longer feels futuristic. It sounds like a door locking from the outside.